When I received the call from the lawyer about our inheritance, I was initially skeptical. My family had never mentioned any wealthy relatives or hidden estates. Yet, here we were, driving through the countryside toward an old mansion that had belonged to some distant great-uncle I'd never heard of. My wife, Maria, and our 2 children, Lily and Ben, were equally intrigued and anxious. The mansion, an imposing structure of aged brick and ivy, stood at the end of a long, winding driveway. The lawyer, Mr. Thompson, greeted us with a key and a warning. "The mansion comes with a condition," he said, his eyes grave. "Inside, you will find a family heirloom. It must remain within the family. Do not, under any circumstances, try to sell or discard it." We nodded, bemused by his seriousness. Once inside, we were struck by the grandeur of the place. Dusty chandeliers, antique furniture, and portraits of stern-looking ancestors filled the rooms. But it was the basement that drew our attention. In the dim light of our flashlights, we found it. An old, intricately carved box. Inside lay a silver locket, tarnished with age. Maria held it up, and a chill ran down my spine. "This must be the heirloom," she whispered. That night, strange things began to happen. We were jolted awake by the sound of breaking glass. Rushing downstairs, we found the living room window shattered, yet there was no sign of an intruder. The following days were filled with eerie occurrences, whispers in empty rooms, shadows moving just out of sight, and objects mysteriously shifting positions. Lily was the first to feel the heirloom's curse. She developed a fever, and her once bright eyes became dull and lifeless. Maria and I took turns watching over her, but despite our care, she seemed to slip further away. Then Ben began to have nightmares, waking up screaming about a woman with hollow eyes and a twisted smile. Desperate, I delved into the mansion's history. I discovered that my great-uncle had been an avid collector of rare artifacts, but the locket had a particularly dark past. It had once belonged to a woman accused of witchcraft in the 17th century. Before her execution, she cursed the locket, vowing that misfortune would befall anyone who possessed it. Determined to break the curse, Maria and I decided to perform a ritual we found in one of the old books in the mansion's library. We gathered the necessary items: candles, salt, and a mirror. The ritual required us to confront the spirit and demand that she lift the curse. That night, we gathered in the basement, the locket placed in the center of a salt circle. As we began the ritual, the temperature dropped and an oppressive silence filled the room. Suddenly, the candles flickered and went out, plunging us into darkness. A low, guttural laugh echoed around us, and a ghostly figure materialized. She was gaunt, with sunken eyes and a malevolent grin. "You dare to summon me?" she hissed. "You, who possess what is rightfully mine." I stepped forward, heart pounding. "We seek to break your curse. Release us, and we will return the locket to you." Her laughter grew louder, more menacing. "You cannot escape. The locket binds you to me, forever." Maria squeezed my hand, and together we recited the incantation. The spirit shrieked, her form flickering. "No, you cannot." Her words cut off as the locket began to glow, casting a blinding light that filled the room. When the light faded, The spirit was gone, and the oppressive feeling lifted. We were left trembling but relieved. The curse had been broken, or so we thought. In the weeks that followed, Lily's fever broke, and Ben's nightmares ceased. The mansion felt lighter, more welcoming. We decided to stay, hoping to build a new life free from the curse's shadow. However, one night, as I was exploring the attic, I found an old journal. It belonged to my great-uncle, detailing his encounters with the spirit and his failed attempts to break the curse. His final entry sent a chill down my spine. The curse can never be truly broken. It merely transfers to another. A sense of dread settled over me as I realized the truth. The curse had not been lifted. It had simply found a new host. And as the new owners of the locket, we were bound to it and to the malevolent spirit forever. The next morning, I woke up to find a note next to my bed in a handwriting I didn't recognize. Return what you took, or suffer the consequences. I hurried downstairs to find Maria and showed her the note. Her face went pale. "What do we do?" she whispered. That night, we decided to bury the locket in the garden, hoping it would end the curse. We dug a hole under the old oak tree and placed the locket inside. As we covered it with dirt, a cold wind blew through the garden, and we heard a faint whisper, "It's not over." The following days were a blur of terror. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. Objects flew across rooms, doors slammed shut on their own, and Lily's fever returned with a vengeance. The final straw came when Ben woke up with scratches all over his body, as if something had clawed at him during the night. Desperate and out of options, I decided to seek help from a local historian who specialized in the supernatural. Dr. Kim was an eccentric old man, but his knowledge was unparalleled. He agreed to visit the mansion and help us rid ourselves of the curse. Dr. Kim arrived with a suitcase full of ancient texts and strange artifacts. After examining the locket and listening to our story, he nodded gravely. The spirit is bound to the locket, but it can be banished. However, it will not be easy. You must confront it one last time and perform a cleansing ritual. That night we gathered in the basement once more, this time with Dr. Kim guiding us. We lit candles and placed the locket in the center of a circle drawn with salt and chalk. Dr. Kim began to chant in a language I didn't understand, and the room grew cold. The spirit appeared again, more furious than before. "You cannot banish me!" it screamed. "You are mine!" Dr. Kim continued chanting, his voice unwavering. Maria and I joined in, our voices trembling but determined. The spirit shrieked, its form distorting and flickering. The locket began to glow, and a powerful gust of wind whipped through the basement, extinguishing the candles. For a moment, there was silence. Then, with a final agonized scream, the spirit vanished, and the locket shattered into pieces. The oppressive feeling lifted, and the basement was filled with an eerie calm. Dr. Kim smiled, wiping sweat from his brow. "It is done. The curse is broken." Relief washed over us. We thanked Dr. Kim and watched as he left, feeling a weight lift from our shoulders. The mansion, once a place of terror, felt like a home again. In the following weeks, Lily's health improved, and Ben's nightmares ceased. The mansion was peaceful, and we began to settle into our new life. The memory of the spirit lingered, but we were determined to move forward, free from its malevolent grasp. Little did we know, in a forgotten corner of the attic, a small piece of the shattered locket lay hidden, waiting for the day it would be found, and the curse would begin anew.